Initially, your fight with Charles was supposed to take place on May 8, but Charles was forced to withdraw from the fight. How did it affect your training camp? Did it bring down the preparation, the mood?
It was definitely frustrating because it's such a long camp, but I was able to make adjustments and just be healthy and come in into this fight the best that I can be.
And is it true that you were ready to take the fight with Arman Tsarukyan then? And did it make sense for you?
I offered, obviously, it doesn't make sense in terms of rankings, but I offered to fight him because I really want to fight May 6th. I want to go forward, you know? But the UFC thinks this is a big fight and it deserves a pay-per-view, event, so that's why they wanted to wait.
So then Arman gave interview and Arman said that he believed that your weakness is stamina and strength. In his opinion, this is what you are not so good at. Do you agree with this? Do you think that you need to work on these two aspects a little more than on something else?
Stamina? Yeah, I could always be better, but so far it hasn't been an issue, you know? So far I've been able to fight as much as I need to.
What about strength? How do you think?
Um, I don't know. I never felt anyone in the octagon and I felt they were so strong, you know? So far everyone I fought when I grabbed them, I feel fine. So I don't know if I have an issue with strength, but that's an opinion, you know? He has a right to his opinion. We'll get to find out if his opinion is true one day.
Who was the strongest opponent in your career, in physically? You know.
I don't know. And like I said, Gamrot was quite powerful, but no one really felt overwhelming when it comes to strength, you know? I never grabbed somebody, like I said, and I felt like, oh my gosh, this person's too strong. I need to get away from them.
So now you and Islam Makhachev have the same manager, Ali Abdelaziz. It's Dominance MMA. And have you personally communicated with Islam or with Habib?
Um, Only fight week. I saw last time I saw Islam fight week. We talked maybe for 1 minute, 2 minutes. He mentioned that he had a daughter as well, and I had my daughter there, and that was it.
No, no personal, relations, something like that.
No,
Friendship,
no,
no friendship. Yeah.
no. If No, it's just not it's not something. I met Umar as well and I talked to them a little bit more. They're very nice guys, all of them, but we don't really have a relationship like that.
So Christianity it occupies a big place in your life. Ali, Habib, Islam, Umar, and other guys are Muslims, and you and they probably know a lot about religion. Have you ever had discussions, maybe with Umar, on this topic? Without aggression, just calm reasoning.
Um, actually Umar talked to me a little bit about it. He talked to me about the situation in Iran and he basically said he didn't that's not really what Islam is what he was trying to say. That was the conversation we had. It was a very short conversation and he was explaining to me that stuff. So besides that, no, I haven't had anything else.
You once called the fight with Habib the fight of your dreams. Habib has already finished his career, but have you considered offering him, a wrestling match or grappling match or jiu-jitsu match, something like that?
You know, Maybe when I retire, we could do that. I think that would be fun. We could definitely do some grappling. I think that's a great idea.
Do you agree with those who call Islam Makhachev now an improved version of Habib, or it's different fighters?
Different fighters for sure, but improved version, I don't know. It's such a hard question because they have different styles. What made Habib so special was his pace. He put on a pace that was crazy. And Makhachev is much more methodical. He's patient. So it's very hard to compare to them, but obviously they're both very good.
You had a bad period in your career when you couldn't win three fights in a row, when two heavy defeats by knockouts happened, and you said something happened with your chin then. Did you understand what the problem was, and are you 100% sure that it was fixed, for that time?
Um, I think one part of it was sometimes God just has to humble us. That was one part of it. The other part was it was my neck. I had a lot of issues with my neck, and when my neck got better, so did my chin, fortunately.
So it's believed that the main danger from Charles Oliveira comes from the ground. The main danger is his jiu-jitsu. Do you see any scenario in your head where you catch Charles on a sub? And what sub is it? Maybe a armbar, classic choke, or arm triangle choke, or something like that.
I think probably choke. You know, I know he's very good at jiu-jitsu, but I think my jiu-jitsu is just as good, if not better.
If Charles go down on the canvas after your shot, will you go for the ground and pound, or you will wait when he will get back on his feet?
No, I'll definitely go to the ground.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
scare you. Yeah.
No.
For all the time in the UFC, you lost by submission once. It was in a fight against Michael Chiesa. How did you explain to yourself why it happened in that fight? What mistake? Main mistake.
I think the mistake was, I was uh I was too prideful. I just, I should have been more humble because I after the first round, I thought he had nothing left for me, you know. His leg was very hurt. He was not he didn't have any offense for me. So I just thought to myself, this fight's over. I just need to just keep doing what I'm doing and he's gonna fall apart. But then I wasn't ready for him. And that was my mistake, you know.
You recently ranked Oliveira second after Khabib in the ranking of the greatest lightweights in the history of the UFC. Why is it not Islam Makhachev, considering how he defeated Oliveira?
Well, you have to wait to see what Makhachev will do with his career, right? Because, for example, let's say Chris Weidman, he beat Anderson Silva, right? But when he beat Anderson, he doesn't just take his spot right away. You have to wait to see how many times he defends his belt, who he fights. I didn't even put him in the list. Obviously, I think he belongs in the list, but I didn't put him in the list yet because we have to see how his career ends.
You mean that Charles had more good opposition, yes, in the UFC? You know, more.
No, more title. I mean, he had title defenses,
Oh.
so I want to see how many more title defensives Makachev will get and things like that. Because his fight with Volkanovski was amazing. So once his title reign ends, then I will rank him.
So, you know, in Russian MMA, Muslim fighters do not like to fight among themselves. They explain this by saying that MMA is already is haram. Therefore, they would like to at least avoid fighting with brothers in the faith. And I've always wondered how Christianity relates to MMA. Is this allowed by religion?
So here's the thing: in Christianity, if there when you step inside that octagon, as long as you don't hate the person in front of you, then it's a competition. It's not violence. So that's important. But if you hate the person in front of you, then it's a sin. So now you're committing sin, and it would be like you said, haram.
You never hate your opponents, yes? Whole career.
No, no, not so far.
Do you respect more Charles Oliveira because he is a Christian too? He is Orthodox Christian, you know. I think it's faith. It's a main thing in his life too, like as you.
Yeah, I respect him so much. I think he's a great fighter. I think he's a good man, a man of faith. He helps his community. There's there's so many things to talk about when it comes to Charles, but because we're fighting, I'm gonna keep it short.
So you know, Fedor Emelianenko has always been one of the most famous representatives of Christianity in MMA. Have you followed his career and did you like how he represented your religion?
I love Fedor. Yeah. To be honest with you, I wasn't a Christian until my mid 20s, so I didn't really pay attention to it. But Fedor, he's a legend. He's one of the goats, and I'm grateful to have someone like him in our sport.
You take your wife and your children to your fights, and some fighters don't want their family around them. You know, Hamzat Chimaev says that you are going to war and there is no place for your wife and children in the war. Someone says that he's afraid that something bad will happen in fight and his children, wife will see it. Why don't these moments bother you?
Well, because war is the easiest thing for me. It's easier for me to fight than it is for me to be a father, than for me to be a husband. So I want to make sure I don't miss out on my children. I want to make sure I'm there for my kids. I want to make sure I'm there for my wife, and I'm doing all the things I need to do because that part's harder. You can put me in any situation and tell me to fight, and I would say, okay, let's fight. That's easy. So I think it's for me personally, it's more important that I be with my family because uh, it's hard to stay close to them.
And a last question for me: if you beat Charles Oliveira this weekend, will you consider any other fight for yourself besides the fight with Makhachev in Abu Dhabi, or is this already a settled issue?
I think it's a settled issue. The Hunter Campbell told me that I would get the title shot, but we'll see. I believe I believe them, but we'll see what happens. There's a lot of guys. As long as I fight tough guys and everything is worked out properly, I don't mind. But I really do want to fight Makhachev. I think he's good.